What's up, everybody? It's Ron, and today I'm going to be reviewing Blade Runner 2019. This is a comic book from Titan Comics that came out a couple years ago, and I avoided it for a long time because Blade Runner is my favorite movie of all time, and pretty much every franchise I used to love has been ruined at this point. So I was scared to even give this a read, but I did see it on Comixology for a decent price, so I thought, why not? Let's check it out. One of the writers of this book is Michael Green. He also co-wrote Blade Runner 2049, which I thought was good but not great. And I'll just say right away that I didn't think this comic was terrible, but I also thought it was a huge missed opportunity. I had a problem with it pretty much right away when it starts with a similar opening of text explaining the world just like the movie did. This comic is called Blade Runner 2019, and that's the same year the first movie took place. And at the bottom of the text it says this character Ash was the best of the Blade Runners. If I had to guess, I'd say this takes place a little bit before the events of the movie, and I understand that Deckard is technically still off the job at this moment in time, but we're just supposed to accept that this new character Ash is the best of them, which is kind of annoying, especially when you watch this clip of Bryant basically saying that Deckard is the best.
It's not good enough. Not good as you. I need you, Dex. This is a bad one. The worst yet. I need the old Blade Runner.
I'm not saying that I never want different stories told in this universe with new characters, but it is a little annoying when you throw in this character and tell us that she's way better than Deckard, and you have to just accept that now. To me, that just seems a little obnoxious. We see this a lot now when people have to write a continuation of an already established franchise, and they have to go out of their way to try to outdo the characters that have already come before. I don't know if it's out of ego, but they have to put classic iconic characters down in the process, which doesn't make fans happy. I would have been 10 times more interested in a story about Rick Deckard before the film that explains why he quit the Los Angeles Police Department in the first place. But it's current year and we can't have nice things anymore, so here we are with this comic. The story centers around Ash, who is assigned with tracking down the missing wife and daughter of this guy Alexander Selwyn, who works for this place called the Kanan Corporation. And it was just so predictable right off the bat because there's no way that a wealthy man in a story written in the last couple of years would ever be telling the truth about his missing family. And they would never portray him as a sympathetic character. The story unfolds like a mediocre procedural TV show, and they couldn't even get Bryant to be the one to give Ash the assignment. It had to be this lady with that stupid side of your head shaved haircut that has to be in every comic now for some reason. And her boss also has to remind her that she is the best of the best, in case you didn't understand that in the title page in the beginning of this book. Why does the audience have to be told how awesome someone is now instead of just showing it? I feel like if you're confident in your character, you'd let the story speak for itself. So from here, our character goes through a similar but more boring version of the film trying to solve this case, and she's really not that likable. One part that stood out to me was when she goes into a club to question someone, and another officer is already there, and of course, it's a really bad male cop, because every single male character has to be evil now. She also explains that he's the reason that she doesn't work with partners anymore, and then when he's confronting one of the replicants, she tasers him while they're both on the job because I guess that's acceptable, like she has the moral high ground. When in reality, it's explained earlier on that she sells body parts of replicants she hunts down to treat a condition she has. So she really has no right to think that this guy is super evil, when in my eyes, she's just as much of a villain as anyone else in this book. The comic jumps back and forth between Ash and the wife and daughter who are missing. And I was about to call bullshit on this little blonde lady, Isabella, beating the crap out of a bunch of guys on the street to protect her daughter, but they do eventually explain that she is a replicant, so at least that makes sense. As you get further into this first volume, you find out that the daughter has a rare genome that can help Tyrell find a way to make his Nexus models last longer. So the whole thing is set up to make you think that the replicant mother is taking the child for her own benefit and longevity. But if you're aware of the way everything is with storytelling now, you'll know that there are definitely rules, and women can't be evil, so I just kind of rolled my eyes and thought there's no way they're going to make this replicant version of this girl's mother evil. The only other option is to make the father the bad guy, and that's exactly what happens. And the whole thing is very, very predictable. It would have been shocking at this point if this Alexander Selwyn guy was telling the truth to Ash and maybe said something like, "Look, I know it's kind of weird and I made a mistake doing this, but my wife is really a replicant version of my real wife. And I know that's a little weird, but she's gone nuts, kind of like in a Roy Batty way, and she took my daughter and she's going to experiment on her to find a way to live longer if you don't find them soon." That would have actually raised the stakes for this comic, and it would have been a cool race against time, but instead we get this boring story that I could see coming from a mile away. I'm giving this book a pretty hard time, but I will point out that I didn't mind the art by Andres Guinaldo, especially a few panels that did a good job capturing the feel of the movie by adding some of the iconic locations. I think the pacing was well done, even though I didn't love the overall story, and I feel like this whole volume was a pretty bland way to set up a more interesting premise for Volume 2, which I guess is going to deal with this Ash character hiding Cleo off-world, which I like because we've only heard about people being off-world, but we've never actually seen that in this universe. So I'm curious to see what that looks like, but then again, I almost don't want to read it if it's just going to be another all men are bad story, which is already getting pretty old. I don't know why at this point we can't have stories with cool characters that happen to be both men and women. It just seems like an overcorrection to me, and once you notice it in something, it's hard to not see it in everything now. So if you're a diehard Blade Runner fan, I'm not sure if you're gonna like this, so I don't know if I can recommend it, but who knows, you might see something in this thing that I'm not seeing. So those are my thoughts on this comic. I would ask what you thought of it, but I doubt that anyone has read this. I don't know what the sales were like. Part of me wants them to do a book with the characters from the movies, but I don't want them to ruin that, so hopefully they just stick with their own characters. Which is a shame, because I think you could do some cool stuff with Deckard, whether it's a prequel before he quit, or even a book about Rachel and Deckard on the run and what happened to them in between the two films. Anyway, please be sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and thanks for watching. Hey everyone, it's Ron here with a quick announcement. When I started this channel, I was reading and reviewing the Dune books and other sci-fi related material, and most of you might not know that I'm also a musician. So when I was reading these sci-fi books, I started to get inspired and decided to make my own soundtrack to use for my videos, and now I'm excited to tell you all about the first volume in the Ron Reviews original soundtrack collection. This album includes the first 17 tracks featured on my channel, and it's available now exclusively on Bandcamp. Be sure to check the description of this video for the link to the album. Thanks so much for the support so far. I know I'm just starting out, but I hope you're having as much fun as I am. So check out the original soundtrack Volume 1 on Bandcamp. This music is great if you want something moody and atmospheric to listen to while you're reading some science fiction. I think you're going to love it. Thanks.